Greetings and salutations. Thank you for checking out the video. It is most appreciated. I'm really glad to have you here. If you like what you see, be sure and like the video. That helps my channel, and it also helps get videos like this out in front of more people. And consider subscribing if you're not subscribed already. I know some of you guys are kind of tired of hearing us YouTube people ask you to do those things, but it really makes a difference and it helps us out a lot, and it don't cost you a thing. So if you're not subscribed, please do. Today we're going to talk about Ubuntu. We're going to focus on Ubuntu 24.04. It is currently the operating system that is running on every machine on my Linux network. I'm going to show you those machines and talk about what they do, and I'll talk about why I'm running Ubuntu. I have been running Linux full-time for a long time, folks, and I cannot really remember too many times when I've had all of the machines that I'm using at any given time running the same operating system. Mainly because I like to play around with other things, but also because usually at any given time there's an operating system that's good at one job that I'm using a machine for that another might not be as good at. But right now, Ubuntu is doing everything that I want it to do, so we're going to talk about that. Now, will I stay on Ubuntu? Is this my declaration that I have found my distro and I will never change again? No, hardly. I'm not really sure how long this is going to last, so that's why I decided to go ahead and make a video about it. So grab yourself a beverage and a snack, and we're going to jump right into taking a look at Ubuntu 24.04. This is my review. Yes, it's been out for a long time, I know, but it is the current long-term support release, and it has taken me a while to come around to using it myself. When it was first released, there were lots of bugs. So let's talk about it. Many of you watching will recognize this desktop immediately. This is Ubuntu 24.04 Vanilla. This is not one of the official Ubuntu flavors running some other kind of desktop. This is what you get from Canonical when you download their main desktop. And it is GNOME, and they provide you with a dock that makes it look and act a lot like the old Unity desktop. I got a comment the other day from somebody who was watching a video I had posted in 2017. And at that point in time, I was running the Unity desktop on Ubuntu. So I may have done that specifically because they said they weren't going to use it or something. I don't remember. But they commented, "What desktop is that?" And I said, well, that's the old Unity desktop, and that's how it worked. When they decided they were no longer going to support Unity, the Ubuntu folks, they took the dock from GNOME and modified it so it does pretty much all the stuff that Unity did in the launcher, is what they called it back then. So, my Ubuntu is highly customized. For instance, when you install Ubuntu, the browser that is provided is Firefox, and if you choose to install all of the broad selection of software, then you will get the Thunderbird mail client. I don't need a mail client these days. I use webmail pretty much for everything. Most people do. And I don't like Firefox, so I install Google Chrome. Now, this brings us to some controversy about the Ubuntu desktop, and that is that they push snaps, which is a universal file installation thing that you can use to install programs on your system. So if we do ls block and we show all of the file systems that are attached and running right now, you see this big long list of stuff up here. These are all snaps, boys and girls. These are system programs and parts of the desktop that are provided as snaps from Ubuntu. And if I had not removed them, you would probably also see Thunderbird running here, and you would see Firefox as well. I took them off, and I prefer to use Google Chrome. And for those of you who are typing in the comments about how evil Google is and why am I using the evil Google Chrome, I think it's pretty much pick your poison these days. I think they're all gateways to giving away your information, so it just comes down to who you trust the most and don't mind sharing your information with. In my case, since I do a YouTube channel and I get money from Google for the advertisements that you watch, then they already know everything about me. They have my social security number, they have my address, my phone number, everything they could possibly want to know. So why should I care if they see what I look at on the internet? You know, they already know anyway. Feel free to start a flame war about that in the comments if you want to. Snaps are not super popular in the Linux community, and that's for a couple of reasons. Number one is that Canonical has never bothered to open source the back end of snaps. Number two, they control it. Their idea for doing that is that all snap packages come from a central location, therefore they're vetted and you can trust it if you install it on your computer. That's the upside of that. The downside of that is that people are very suspicious. Why haven't you open sourced that? And there are those that tout Flatpak. I personally myself do not hate snap packages. I don't think they're the greatest things in the world. And what I have been doing for the past several years is supporting Debian, where I get things in a deb package and I have no need to go to Flatpaks or snaps. And so therefore, I just haven't been using it. But now that I'm using Ubuntu everywhere, part of the system comes as a snap. So feel free to complain about snaps in the comments if you want to as well. My personal opinion is I don't hate them, but I don't love them either. And I think in certain situations they may be a good way to distribute software. Like one of the reasons that they put Firefox in a snap in Ubuntu is because the developers then only have to maintain that one package. There's usually 3 or 4 different versions of Ubuntu that are being supported at the same time, so every time that they would have to do an update, they would have to compile 4 different packages and make sure that it worked with each distribution. Whereas with a snap package, it was guaranteed to work with all of them. Right? Right, sure. Okay. So we've got the snap thing out of the way. The dock works like the Unity desktop. So we'll start over here and we'll start looking at that. So if I want to open up Google Chrome, I just click here and it opens up. Now, if I want to open up another window of Google Chrome, then I have to center click on that icon. Center click would be using the scroll wheel on your mouse as a button. Linux was originally developed, the Linux desktop at least, to use a 3-button mouse, and that still lives today. So there is a center menu in a lot of different places. Sometimes you can get away with just clicking the 2 right and left buttons together, but that doesn't work all the time. So I actually center click, and then I will get another window, which you might not have seen open, but I will drag this down. So yes, you see there are now 2 windows of Chrome, and they're here, and there we go. And that's pretty much how it works for all the applications. Plus we have a right-click menu. We can open up a new menu here. If we go to the music player here, which is Rhythmbox that comes with the GNOME desktop, you can see that we have all kinds of options. And that's how that works. You basically run the whole system from right here. Older versions of GNOME 3, well, are we on 3 anymore? We're not on 4, are we? I think we're on 4, right? We're on GNOME 4 these days. Let me go look and make sure I'm not. Does it say anywhere in here? Nah. We're on GNOME 4.2. Anyway, back in the GNOME 3 days, if you're wondering why I just got confused, there used to be this thing up here that said activities. Now we just get this little bar up here, and I think it's showing how many desktops are running right now. These little dots here, I don't know what that's supposed to be. But anyway, this is the desktop that we're on right now. And as you can see, I have 3 or 4 desktops available to me. I can go here. We have a virtual machine here that's running, and we're going to talk about what that's all about here shortly. All right, and then we can jump over here. This is the screen capture software running, and this is an extra desktop where I would need to still center click to open up Chrome. If I just click Chrome, we're going to fly back to one that's open on the first screen. Well, did I have anything? Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, it opened directly, but this is what I want to show you. So I just opened this up here. The dock works over all of the open virtual desktops, workspaces, whatever you want to call them. So if I just click this, we fly back over to that other desktop. I'd have to center click to get another Chrome. I'm not sure whether I like that or not, because I had been using Linux Mint Debian Edition 6 for a long time, and if I open up a new desktop, I click on Chrome, I get a new window. But it's just little bugaboos like that that you have to get used to. The GNOME desktop has been notorious in the last few years for removing features. Every time you turn around, something goes away. The Ubuntu people have added things like they have a semi-active desktop here, because that's one of the things they took away. You couldn't create files or have folders on the desktop in regular GNOME, so they have backported that, and it works almost the way it should, but not quite. So that's another thing you have to get used to. Like we have this home directory down here. So if you're used to using another desktop and you're not used to that, it's a little strange. What else is there to show you here? Let's look over here. We have this snazzy little control center here that has all of the settings. We can go here and open the settings. When Ubuntu 24.04 was first released and I was testing it, this did not work. There was a Python error in it. It would not render properly on the screen. This was a major pain in the butt, so this is one of the reasons that it took me a while to adopt Ubuntu. So that's the basic layout of how the desktop works. I'm not going to dive too deep into it because you can download it yourself and play with it in a virtual machine or watch somebody else's video. But that's kind of the highlights. They have a new installer now. I did a video last week talking about GNOME boxes, and in that video I actually did an Ubuntu install with the new installer. If you want to see what that looks like, go ahead. I'm not sure whether I'm a big fan of the new installer or not, especially when it came to actually partitioning the drive for installation. It gave me all kinds of heartburn. I ended up on the 2 systems that I ended up putting together this week, and I ended up, so I can use that redundantly yet a third time, just allowing the Ubuntu installer to partition the drive however it wanted to. I prefer to have a home partition on my drive, but for the machines that I was making, it really doesn't matter, so I just didn't worry with it. I had an old trick that I used to do years ago anyway when I was having trouble with that, as I would allow the system to go ahead and partition whatever it wanted to, and then I would open up gparted and shrink the big partition down, and then create a home partition, and then just manually edit the fstab file to boot up a home partition. That's on my channel if you guys want to see that. If you want to see me do an install of Ubuntu from scratch, I'll do it. Let me know in the comments. It's in the boxes video, but we could do it step by step and talk more about the process if that's something that you're into. So let's go ahead and look at the machines that I have running here. Let me get on to the main desktop. I forgot I was all the way at the end there. By the way, I'm a big fan of virtual desktops. I use them all the time. Whatever I'm doing, I like to have stuff running on different desktops and be able to switch back and forth. It's one of my favorite things about working in Linux. So I don't want to sound negative about it in any way, because I absolutely love it. So I'll show you the machines that I'm running right now. And this is all this week. I moved all this stuff around and changed things up and put Ubuntu on just about everything. So this is my main system. This is the one that I'm making this video on right now. I'm talking to you through that microphone that you see next to the screen. It's a very simple layout, and the computer is, cannot remember what it's called exactly, but I think it's a green PC. And this was a company that was building computers that were shipped with Ubuntu. And I bought this computer, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago now, from a computer store in upstate New York. And it came with just about everything I wanted in it. It has a terabyte NVMe drive in it, and it has a Seasonic power supply. It had a Blu-ray writer in it. Unfortunately, it died. So I had to downgrade that to a DVD. And yes, I do use optical media. So I like having the drive in there. Plus it has USB 3 right on the front. It is a very nice computer. The guy took the old green PC case, put a new motherboard in it, all new parts. It was stuff that I would have bought if I was going to build the machine. And I got it for a ridiculously low price. I got it for $300. Gorgeous machine. And it has an ECM motherboard in it. 32 gigabytes of RAM. And at one point I had it stuffed full of hard drives because I was doing like all virtualization stuff. And I actually, when I installed Ubuntu on it a few months ago, I took all that out of the system. And it was running Linux Mint Debian Edition 6 for a long time and doing quite well on it. And I developed a potential problem with the firmware in the kernel, which would have needed a reinstall anyway. I never did figure out exactly what was going on with that, so I just decided to reload the machine because it had been running for about 4 years. Originally, I thought that I was just going to run Ubuntu just to play with it because I hadn't really used 2404 on my main machine because when it first came out there was lots of bugs. And so I wanted to see what that was like. And while I'm not a huge fan of some of the things going on with the desktop, it has been very stable and it works very well for what I need to do, and I just haven't changed it to anything else. Now, that may change. Now, this is the deal, see? This is why this video is important. I don't run all my machines on the same stuff all the time. I may go to Linux Mint Debian Edition 7 when that comes along, and that's with the new Debian 13. We'll talk about that in just a little bit in more depth, okay? Okay. So that's my main system right now. Those of you who have been around the channel for a long time may remember that there were 2 monitors on my desk for a long time, and my desk is nothing more than a folding table. I know. How classy. But I've always had tables for desks, and I'm happy with that. So anyway, this is the main system, and this Dell monitor here is ancient at this point. It will not die. I bought it on sale. The original price was about $800, and I got it for $200 at Costco a long, long time ago. So I use HDMI to feed video to this. At the time, this was a very high-end old Dell monitor. Moving on, by the way, those are Creative Labs speakers. I don't remember what the model numbers are. They're okay. I bought them to fit on the desk. They work all right. Are they the greatest speakers in the world? No. Do they sound acceptably good? Yes. Those speakers may get an upgrade in the future too. So this is a system that I just built. This is the old work computer, and this is the one that is currently on Cindy's desk, and her desk is a little bit more messy than mine is. And so this is a Dell Optiplex. This is the machine that I was using to work for the radio station. It had Windows 10 on it. They don't want it back because it will not run Windows 11. So therefore, I have put Ubuntu on it, put it on her desk. That is another old Dell monitor that I got for free. Somebody gave it to me, and it's a 16 by 10, which is actually my favorite form factor of monitor, but I'm letting Cindy use it, and she enjoys it. Her computing needs are somewhat, how am I going to put this? Simple. Probably the best word. She uses the browser. She occasionally uses LibreOffice to write documents and read things. She uses scanning software to scan things into the computer from the printer, and she prints things. That's pretty much it. So prints things like return labels and stuff like that. She's into buying and selling online, so that's what she uses it for. And she prefers Ubuntu over any other operating system and has been using this as her main system for, I would say, nearly 10 years. Ubuntu, that is, not this computer. She did have a little HP laptop that simply refused to die when I think the first thing that I installed on it was Ubuntu 16.04 when I got it. Somebody gave it to me, and I finally decided to retire that machine, although I don't think it's going completely away. I have an idea that I might be using it again in the future. So this is Cindy's new setup. She's kind of liking having a full computer on the desk and having the power. This machine has 16 gigabytes of RAM. It has a 1 terabyte SATA SSD in it. It is a Samsung Evo 860. My main machine, by the way, has a Samsung Evo 970, which is the NVMe drive. This is a SATA board because it's an old machine. This machine doesn't even have UEFI enabled, which was giving me some trouble. I said that I was having a hard time setting up the partitions the way I want to. Well, I found out that's why, because I thought I was setting up for UEFI and I wasn't, so I just gave up and let Ubuntu create one giant partition, and it works fine. For what she does and what I'm going to do with it, it's alright. And yes, I do use these machines in the background because they are accessible over the network, and I use them as servers. She can be sitting there watching Netflix and hanging out at her desk, and she's crazy. She will actually sit there, guys, and she'll have the computer streaming something or have email up on the computer, both, and then she'll have a tablet open and she's shopping on the tablet. Now, we're not done. She'll also have her phone open at the same time, and she's texting back and forth with her friends. I walked back there and found her with 3 devices running. One she's playing a game on, the other one it's crazy. Talk about somebody who's plugged in. Anyway, this is a machine I call Music Box. And that's what its name is on the network, and it lives in the music room that I was able to create when my daughters moved out. I kind of stole the space and said, hey, I'm going to put all my audio junk in here. And so what you're looking at is a little Dell satellite PC. I don't remember what the model number is. I bought it for $80 refurbished online, loaded Linux on it, and it does what I need it to do in here. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM. It has a 256 gigabyte SSD in it, and it's a one of those little slimline, tiny little laptops. And the main reason it exists is to record audio using the Behringer Euphoria interface right there. I did a video about that if you want to learn more. And playback audio from my digital music collection and any streaming service I want to happen to listen to. So that's what it's there for. And the recording side of it is, sometimes there's a record or something that I want to create a digital file of. And I was doing a lot of old cassettes and doing transfers earlier this year, but I'm kind of done with that. And unfortunately, my Nakamichi cassette deck that I spent all that money on, if you follow the channel that close, it developed a problem. So I think we're about done with cassettes forever, boys and girls. Sorry. But I got everything transferred I wanted to, so I'm happy. So there's another picture of this to show you how it fits in. It sits on the counter there, and we have the turntable next to it. So this can become a nice little workstation. That turntable has a classic Stanton 680 cartridge on it with a 6807 stylus, which is a very rare Stanton stylus. It's a conical stylus, and it's probably the best stylus ever produced for playing 45s. It's designed for archiving 45s and LP records, and it originally came with a Stanton 681 cartridge when it was new, and we're talking about 70s technology here. But I don't think they've made anything better ever since, so I switched over to the classics. I got lucky and found a bunch, and That's what I'm using. I think this is the best sounding transfer setup that I have ever had, honestly. I can transfer audio from the turntable to the computer, and it sounds amazing, really, honestly. And I use Audacity to record that, and then I'll bring it onto the main machine here to process it and turn it into whatever format it needs to be, depending on where it's going to go, for whoever it's going to go to. Most of the time it goes into my collection. So, anyway. And we got one more to look at. One that you've heard of but never seen on this channel is the EEE-PC. This is a tiny little netbook. It is well over 10 years old. It was donated to the channel. This is a server, and it's living under the end table next to the couch there. And most of the time it runs quietly with the lid closed, and because I don't see the screen. The only way that I really interact with this machine is by using SSH over the network. And one of the traditional videos here on this channel has been for quite some time upgrading the Ubuntu server OS on there to the next long-term support release. So this is currently running 2404, and it will be running 2604 at some point, probably, maybe. I don't know. I'm considering leaving Ubuntu and going to Debian, though, honestly. Maybe where we end up going here. So those are all the systems, and that's what I'm doing with them right now. And of course, I have an account on each one of those systems, and I act as an administrator. Yes, I can talk. My mouth will work properly shortly. Don't hit me, it won't help, okay? Thank you. So, do I think that Ubuntu is the world's greatest distribution of Linux? No, I don't. It is undoubtedly the most popular, and it is the one that is used more often commercially in business settings than any other. I'm not quite sure what their numbers stack up against Red Hat, what they look like, but Red Hat has generally pissed off the entire Linux community, so I don't know how many people are sticking with Red Hat, and if they are, I don't know why. But that's another thing we can get into in the comments. So what distribution of Linux do I recommend if you are just starting out? Well, I recommend Linux Mint. So let's dive into this Linux Mint virtual machine and take a look at this desktop. And wait for it to get itself figured out here. Oh, that looks horrible. You're going to fix that? Of course not. It's never done this before. It's doing it because I'm recording. There we go. It just took it a little while to figure that out. All right. So, this desktop and the way it runs is going to be more familiar to a lot of people who are coming from a Windows environment. We have the Cinnamon menu over here. That's pretty straightforward. And when you open up an application, so because this is a virtual machine, I'm running Firefox. That's what comes with Linux Mint for your main browser. And there you go. I've not. It's the first time I've ever opened it, so that's why we're getting this. And they're telling us that they're keeping us safe. Okay, whatever. But unlike the Ubuntu desktop, I can go to another desktop, and then I can open up another Firefox. And so, I wanted Firefox. There we go. And see, I get another Firefox. So if I hit alternate and control, and then the down arrow, of course you'll see that I can get an expo mode of everything that's opened on the desktop. Let's go ahead and open up something else so that makes sense. There. And that's the same thing as, I think in Windows you do alternate and tab, and it does that, gives you an expo mode. And then the other thing that you can do is alternate and the up arrow, alternate control and the up arrow will show you all the available desktops. And they're not dynamically allocated, so if you want 2 desktops or 3, if you want more, this is how you get them. So you'd have to go in here and do that, whereas with the GNOME desktop, it's all dynamic. You open up a desktop, you use it, you close all the applications, it goes away. But the main reason that I would recommend using Linux Mint to people who are just starting out is because Linux Mint's goal and their mission in life is to give you a desktop-oriented operating system that works completely when you install it, that has everything you need. And they also have a welcome screen that you get when you start it. It takes you through the process of setting up TimeShift to do system snapshots, so you can roll back if you break something, and it sets up the updates and shows you how to do. It's a very nice system for somebody who is just starting out. If you can manage to get it installed on some hardware somewhere, chances are it's going to work. Here's another thing that you might want to take a look at here. So let's go to here. This is very straightforward. People complain about drivers and in Linux, and you'll hear people go, "Oh, there's all this incompatibility." Believe me, dealing with drivers these days in Linux is so much easier than it was in Windows or ever has been. This says there's no drivers needed. But if it needed specific drivers for the video card and they were available, you'd see them there. So that's pretty cool. Linux Mint, and I'm typing ls block here, does not use snaps. There are no snaps available. Everything is installed from the deb package. Their version of Firefox they maintain themselves and make available in all the currently supported versions of Linux Mint. Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu, and it uses the deb package format just like Ubuntu, and it uses some of the repositories from Ubuntu, but it is not Ubuntu. And it is so much not Ubuntu, and has been for so long, that I consider it to be its own separate distribution. It is technically based on Ubuntu, but they do a lot of work on their own to give you an experience that is basically more traditional. So for most people coming from a Windows or a Mac world, this is going to be a whole hell of a lot more familiar than what I was showing you with Ubuntu. So if you're starting out, this is the place I recommend that you start. I also put Linux Mint on machines for people who don't really care about computers. They're there to do things on the internet. They're there to work, and they don't really feel like dealing with it because, for instance, here, Linux Mint makes it easy to keep up with updates. I like their graphic update manager better. It just tends to make more sense to a lot of people, especially when you sit down and explain it. And this machine needs an update. Why don't we update it? Won't that be fun? Let's do it now. Let's update this computer while we're making the video. Show you how easy this is. So Linux Mint is a very cool, easy operating system, and it has a great support community around it. And I have worked very closely with the Linux Mint developers through the years. I just don't have anything bad to say about it. I think it's the place that most people would start. I think that if you get to a point where Linux Mint feels like it's hemming you in, then you probably need to go ahead and congratulate yourself, because that means that you have graduated from a novice user to an intermediate user. Although in the future I may be using a version of Linux Mint on this machine, LMDE 7, which is due to come out in November, and that's based on Debian Linux, and that's an entirely different thing. We'll do videos about LMDE when we get closer to it. I want to take a look at the new release, and we'll talk about that. This is Linux Mint based on Ubuntu, and I believe that the current one is 22.1, and then we're waiting shortly for 22.2 to come along. The point release upgrades in Linux Mint are insanely easy to do. All you have to do is go to View, and here it will appear. It'll say upgrade to the new version. or is it an edit? It's somewhere in these menus that it shows up. You get an update, and then you click on it, and you can update to the new version of Linux Mint with no trouble. Now, when you get out of the main series, like you going from Linux Mint 22 to 23, upgrading in place is a little bit more technical, but quite possible. That's another thing that I do like about Ubuntu, and Linux Mint has really come to that party a little bit late. It used to be years ago that every time that there was a new version of Linux Mint, you would have to reinstall. They have changed that. Ubuntu, on the other hand, you can pretty much bank on being able to do an in-place upgrade and have it work. And there are machines like that server that have never been reloaded since I put Ubuntu on it the first time. The little teensy server, I call it teensy on the network. And that machine has never been reloaded. Every time there's a new version of Ubuntu, we do a video and we reload it, and it just keeps running. And I think we've been doing that since Ubuntu 16.04. It's 2025, kids. That's like 9 years. So that's a look at Linux Mint there in the virtual environment. You can go ahead and shut that down now that I have it all updated. And as I close things out here in the video, I will open up Ubuntu here. We'll do our updates here and then close it down as well. I like to update my virtual machines. So what are your opinions? What do you think? Put them down in the comments. What would you like to see more videos about? Would you like to learn more about Linux Mint? Would you like to learn more about Ubuntu? You would never touch either of these systems. Maybe you hate them. But these are the systems that I have had the most experience with, and through the years, at one point in time, I had the ear of a lot of folks that were working on developing Ubuntu. They moved on. Alan Pope, Will Cook, Martin Wimpress are a few people that I was very closely following what they were doing while they were working at Ubuntu. But in the last few years, I'm not as hip to what is going on. I think that's a problem with Ubuntu, is that Canonical has invested less in working with the community in the last few years. Some people accuse them of becoming Linux's version of Microsoft. I don't think we're quite there yet, boys and girls. So let's go ahead and update this. And yes, I'm using the old up script, which is nothing more than a script that automatically updates Ubuntu in a terminal. So thank you for watching. I certainly do appreciate it. If you found this video interesting, share it with your friends, give it a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm looking for comments and suggestions. What do you want to see videos about? You can put that down in the comments. I forgot what that was called for a while there. And let me know what you want to see. I'm rambling now. It's time to go. Thank you for watching. We'll do it again soon.